And it's raining today. As well, we lost an hour of time because all the clocks moved forward. Technically, I guess it should stay bright a lot longer in terms of the sunlight anyways because of that adjustment. And what's going on today? It's kind of interesting reading this one. You know, things like remote ID may become a norm in many places. How about this one? This one says Taiwan to require remote ID for all commercially sold drones. The wording was kind of interesting too. It says Taiwan will require all commercially sold drones to be equipped with a remote identification tracking feature beginning in 2026, the Civil Aeronautics Administration said on Sunday. In an interview with CAA Deputy Director General Lin Cheng-liang said requiring a remote ID which provides identification and location information that can be used by other parties has become a global trend as the popularity of civilian drones has grown. Under new regulations approved by the CAA, all drones sold commercially in Taiwan will need remote ID by January 1st, 2026, while those that are already in use will have a grace period to get the features installed, Lin said. That's a little troubling too, saying, oh, it's a global trend. A lot of people are doing it nowadays, so we might as well do it too. That type of attitude, I guess. And unfortunately, in many cases, it looks like that's how it will be because not a lot of people are actually doing something about it, I guess you could say, and just saying, oh, whatever, it's a couple of bucks, this and that. Look where that took us now, huh? Everyone's saying it's a couple of bucks, it's a quick test and so forth. It just never stopped. It goes on to say, beyond helping the government monitor drones in Taiwan's airspace, the remote ID function will also make it possible for members of the public to use the CAA's Drone Map app to check whether nearby drones are properly registered and are flying in an authorized area, Lin said. Meanwhile, the CAA is also planning to lower the minimum age for registering a drone from 16 to 13 years old, in line with similar regulations set by the US Federal Aviation Administration, according to Lin. So it makes me wonder there, because a lot of people criticize, rightfully so, where if you can just track anybody wherever they are, is this one actually saying it's just the drone itself, or can they actually go find the operator? Because you can imagine here they talk about, I guess, decreasing the age. Imagine somebody mugging a kid or something like that. Oh, expensive drone in this area. It makes me wonder if this is in response to, remember that viral video where apparently it was a drone from China and they were using it on various, I guess, Taiwan guards per se, and they were trying to throw rocks and stuff to take it down. It was kind of embarrassing. So it makes me wonder if that was kind of related to this. The part that got me to wonder is where it says it's commercially sold drones will be required. So what happens if someone literally just takes various parts and build their own drone? Technically, they weren't sold it as a whole, correct? So does that mean they could actually, I guess, fly it without this? It'd be a gray area, I guess. I always find that cycle kind of interesting, actually, where you have, again, let's just say these fake gurus and organizations, these lobbyists that promote things to be the way they are to force people to do tests, pay hundreds of dollars and so forth. So once people, let's just say, lose their right, they scramble to find some way to stay legal. And so these guys that spam everyone saying, join my, I don't know, club or whatever, I'll teach you this and that, I'll sell you this and that to pass. So people go there, they take the test or whatever, or their course, spend thousands of dollars, pass, and then afterwards they celebrate saying, oh, this place is like fantastic or whatever, it helped me pass this. And I'm thinking, those guys were the ones that made it the way it is. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have had to go through this crazy process just to fly like a toy, for example. So I always wonder about that. Where do people actually realize that? Or are they just, I guess, oblivious to what those guys are doing in the background per se? I mean, it's hard to tell too, even I would admit it, because it comes down to consistency. Some of them hide it really good. Where on the public, they seem like, oh, they're friendly and so forth, but you look at the background, ultimately, it's just about selling courses or trying to increase their own, I guess, worth, taking advantage of people in that way. And the only consistent way to determine is see from day one, were they against it? Did they not sell anything right from the beginning? Or was that their motivation, for example? Because that is a thing too. A lot of people wanting to, quote, get into the ground floor opportunity per se. On that note about bad companies and all that, remember that situation where that phone company disconnected my mom's number for absolutely no reason, and then afterwards I spent a lot of time trying to help her get it back up. It got reported to this organization called the CCTS here in Canada, which is supposed to help you deal with these situations and hold those companies accountable. Unfortunately, during that time, as you guys know, it seemed like that organization didn't really do much. They were trying to, it seemed like, sway it off, like, yeah, who cares, like, close this. So after a long time and going back and forth, trying to make sure these guys are doing what they say they would, I got a resolution that actually made my mom really happy. Ultimately, what my mom wanted at first was, one, the company admits that they actually transferred the number out for absolutely no reason and took weeks to actually bring it back up when they should be doing it immediately, and as well, just reimburse the charges. So that's what the investigation and stuff would help, because I guess my mom also has one of the thoughts where companies like these, they probably do it all the time and get away with it, so having a record of it will help, I guess, maybe in the future if needed. So this guy, it seemed like he sided with the company a lot. For example, at first he's kind of implying, I don't know, like, what do you guys want? It seemed like the company reconnected your service, they gave you like an apology of sort, and you were saying, that's not an apology. They completely denied, for example, about transferring the number out of day one. Like, they were trying to blame it on a hardware error and stuff, which wasn't the case. And so we said there, we don't agree with it, go to the investigation, which is how it should be according to the procedure. So the guy goes away and so forth. That's what we assume. They're going to be investigating it. Time passes. He comes back and says, oh, they showed us like all these billing and reports and so forth. Like, again, we don't see anything wrong. Would you want like some kind of compensation? Like, we asked my mom and so forth. But ultimately, she did say she just wanted, again, the documentation of what happened, refund basically what they overcharged. But in general, like for all the inconvenience and stuff, she kind of implied at first, like at the end, if she gets all that report, then she'd be happy, for example, with $100 and all that. So again, though he's supposed to be investigating the situation, goes away and then comes back saying, okay, the company now offers you $100. So if you accept this $100, we'll just close the case and there'll be no investigation on the company. So we're like, what? That's one of the main things. Like, we wanted the documentation about it. So again, we said, no, go to the investigation. So weeks pass by again. We assume that's what's happening. And he comes back again saying, okay, now the company offers you $250. Like, what is going on? It's like, you don't want to basically, quote, investigate this company, it feels like. I did document the whole situation too, because like some of you expressed where potentially the organization is in reality biased towards companies and so forth. So I documented all that and I was really confident where if you investigate it, there's no and, if, or buts. I made it very clear that's how they have to process this, where if you want to close the case so bad, then what we want is you have to write down what industry code of conducts this company violated, for example. If not, you still don't want to do this. I made it clear, it seems like they were procrastinating this, do the investigation. Because I even told them, if you're gonna tell me they didn't do anything wrong, like what he was implying to kind of say like, oh, just take the money and so forth, it's worth way more than whatever, you know, they potentially overcharged you and all that. So at the end, they kind of agreed to that by the looks of it anyways, where they wrote down what the company violated and all that, and at the same time, they gave my mom $250 for all that time, the inconvenience, and the refund, and overall, she was really happy about that. So in the end, in terms of the breach that the company did, they basically quoted this one. It's kind of what I read before too. It says, where it becomes apparent that the disconnection occurred in error or was otherwise improper, the company must restore the services during business hours on the next working day at the latest, unless exceptional circumstances do not permit this, and no reconnection charges will be levied. And they were saying how the company didn't prove why. There was, let's just say, a reason not to reconnect it and all that. So either way, I guess ultimately my mom was really happy with the results afterwards. She even said, oh, she'll give you some of the money. I'm like, no, I don't care, keep it, right? Use it for your next one. I actually switched companies for her and so forth. So I'm glad everything like that was worked out. looks like the rain isn't stopping today, huh? What to test? I was thinking actually for fun, maybe I'll try to find footage from the Nano and the Mini so you can kind of see where I can see the difference clearly. But maybe you could too, I guess just as a test. Alright, see you guys later.